focus on fostering a compassionate workplace. She also coaches women in navigating life-altering challenges and supports their families and communities through empathy and guidance. May I also call Mr. Animesh Rai, a seasoned learning and development expert with over 18 years in HR and people analytics. As CEO of Ripples Learning and head of CHR and peer certifications, he has certified over 20,000 professionals globally and leads innovative HR strategies through his roles with the Center of Excellence for HRBP and as co-chair of the HR committee. Aditya Pal Singh is a seasoned talent acquisition professional with over 2 decades of experience in crafting impactful recruitment strategies globally, and also serves as a visiting faculty at IIMs and IITs and is a thought leader in global forums like GWFM and NHRD. Kavitha Shivakumar is a highly accomplished HR leader with over 20 years of experience. She's excelled in roles from recruiter to senior director HRBP at Commvault. Her expertise spans talent management, leadership development, and HR operations, and her career reflects a dynamic ability to drive growth, enhance engagement, and foster positive work cultures across diverse sectors.
No, you're not coming.
Navin. Okay, I'm sorry. Last but not the least, Mr. Navin Patel. I'm sorry. Global TA head at Redefined, who brings over 20 years of expertise in talent acquisition, sourcing, and recruitment.
We'll try and bring some smile. We've changed the format because this is the last session. No, it's not. Oh, there's more. So we've changed the session to suit us. Right? Adi. He's the moderator, not me, so I'll give it to him.
Sorry, I can do this with all of them. Okay. How many folks from HR? Just put your hands up. Scared of maths. The person sitting next to you is a Delhi School of Economics pass out. The person sitting here has got almost 100 in maths and 12. So it doesn't matter. It's a theory, but yeah. And there are a lot of HR guys sitting here. I'm sure they've done much better than I would have done. On a lighter note, but you know what Animesh talked about, and it's so true, what points he spoke about is how the landscape of HR is changing right now. Look at when we were all studying, right? We started, anybody who's done their master's pre-2000s, PM and IR, you remember word, right? I had to do a dual degree because at that period of time I was in symbiosis, so you also had to do your master's in labor law, labor welfare. Savita is nodding her head, so she also understands. And she does also, and I'm sure a lot of you does. The world has evolved from industrial relations, which was one of the most toughest job from HR. I felt that because I remember when I was doing my internship in Bharat Forge in Pune, and I saw one of the workmen walking up to the HR guy and he slapped him. And I was just doing internship. I said, and that time internship, if you remember, was photocopy and few other things. I'm sure some of us know. And I said, okay, this is not happening. And that guy turned around and said, no, sit down. He spent some time with him, and that guy went there and all of that happened. But it was a very tough job, right? It was not the job which anybody would want to do, right? When we all started doing MBA, everybody would want to do, marketing sales. Now most of the engineers want to do HR. The industry has changed a lot. In Bangalore, you throw a stone, you'll find 1,500 engineers right across. So, my question to Vijayanti is, and the specific questions will come to all of you. Before Vijayanti starts, Navin, think of your experience, how HR has, in talent acquisition, changed. You've seen large-scale companies like Accenture and Redefined and all of that. And the same goes for you from a product angle and from a technology company, how HR has evolved. Which are coming to you, because I know you know, like on the spot questions. So you have seen industrial relations, you've managed the workforce, right? White collar workforce, blue collar workforce, both of it. HR has changed a lot when you started as a practitioner to what it is today as a person who's heading HR. What are quickly the things and the learnings you want to share with? Maybe some of these are people who've just you started working 4-5 years back. How is it evolving? Just aim of this discussion is to share your experience and things which you've learned. And biggest failures. People never talk about failures.
Sure.
Thank you. I also want to upfront say that I may not stay for the whole panel. I have a hard stop at 4:30. I have my mentor who's coming from Bombay who's meeting me. So I'm so sorry I will leave at 4:30. I'm sure. A couple of questions from the time we started. I started years ago. I don't want to talk about it because I currently work with people who are in my son's generation. And the beast is completely different. How IR has changed over the years, or over decades now, is today you're dealing with a workforce that even in the remotest part of the country has access to information and has access to information real time, and whose priorities in life is no longer about securing a retirement kitty for the family. And I think the biggest challenge for HR people across the spectrum of industry and workforce is how do you deal with a generation that really doesn't care for the same things that you cared for, and therefore you as an HR person sitting in my age, I'm 50 this year, and therefore at 50, if I have to relate to a 21-year-old, I have to learn to be speaking their story. Forget industrial relation, any relationship in the workplace with a colleague of multiple generations, particularly this generation, needs to evoke a certain empathy of the life they lead and what's really driving them. Our lives were driven by a retirement fund, salary, moving out of the middle class livelihood. The generation now seems to have everything already. What they're really looking for, therefore, is something beyond, and I think most HR folks in the room don't understand. We don't speak the language of the generation that we're interacting with, and therefore, they look at us with absolute humor, like you look at animals in a circus. Right? And that's the reality for HR folks in this generation, if you're not ready to accept it. In fact, I was talking to a couple of people who said, Viji, how do we even remain relevant to a generation? And you know what? I was fortunate. Most of you may not agree. But when I went on the other side of 45, I landed a role in Ola where a peer of mine was 22 years old. And sitting in a room with them calling me an old person and then going out of the room wanting to feel relevant was my biggest lesson in HR after 22 years. And I think if we are ready to accept this, we'll do a better job, IR or no IR. Right? And I'll stop with that.
Navin?
Thanks, Eddie. So I think with respect to, specific to TA, things have evolved a lot, right? I remember back, actually days about, almost 15 years ago, right? Where it was more of an employee market, employers, candidates will queue on a weekend event, we used to have mega weekend event, we had all that tension, and it was more like a assembly processing that used to happen, right? A lot of things are manual, we had to, collect manual resumes, key in the data, there was no passing available at that time, and a lot of effort used to go there, right? And we used to always have people doing those, repetitive tasks day in, day out, right? And that slowly has evolved into, with a lot of automation that has happened in terms of system being able to parse the resumes, do auto matching of GD to the resume, and a lot of other numbers, processes, maybe automatic scheduling, online interviews. And I think pandemic has again taken that to the next level of movement where I'm sure a lot of people agree, it's very, very difficult to even bring candidates to office or even to an interview. So as professionals, we have to figure out, how are we adapting to the changes, how are we able to get to sort of platform thing that can really assess, whether candidate genuine, not genuine, is he faking, not faking. So there are a lot of things that are coming, challenges, and again there are a lot of tools that are supporting us as TA leaders. So I think the attention or the time that a recruiter really spends is in terms of figuring out the candidate or attracting them really. Right? While it used to be a talent acquisition some time, but I think the more appropriate word right now is talent attraction, because it's a candidates market. There's a lot of rapid technological advancement that's taking place, and because of that, the best candidates are very less in the market, and everyone wants best of the candidates, right? So it's a big fight out there. So how do you attract them? And then there are times where people used to be loyal to organization for say 5 years, 10 years, 8 years, and that average time has just become close to maybe 1.5 years right now. So how do we ensure that we attract the right talent so that we don't have billing laws, we're able to fulfill the particular requirement. So I think that's something that has changed in the last 8-10 years, and because of this, earlier the TA was like just delivering numbers, but now I think the role has become more strategic, right? I have those discussions with the hiring managers or CXOs in terms of how to go about hiring, how to go about attracting, what is that they need to do, right? So there are a lot of places that we dictate what needs to be done. Right example, there was a time when we were trying to attract, but candidates not ready. So that's when I had to go and talk to the CXO, say that you have to launch a work from anywhere kind of policy, right? If you don't do that, we will not be able to communicate and attract them. And that was done. But again, once the pandemic was gone completely and people were being called to office, again it was a 5 days work from office. So again, you had to make them understand, say that it will not work out. Right, so we have to be very flexible, and we are more like trusted advisors to the management now. I think that's the kind of game has become. As much as the sales people were really close to the CXOs in terms of numbers, I think TA is also translating and contributing to that numbers and revenues. So if we fail in our job or if we are not able to meet our targets, it has a direct impact on the business, and that's why TA has taken center stage right now.
For me, I'm just reminded of a quote, right, which says like, we are not known by what we already know, but what we are willing to learn. And I think that's what has been throughout the day, and the topics, the various topics that we spoke about. So I worked in different industries. I worked in the services industries, I worked in the financial sector, and now I think for more than 10 years I've been in a product company. In terms of the product company, the landscape has changed drastically, wherein initially when we kind of wanted to find the talent, we knew that they were more open to do any job, whether it could be a developer, it could be a tester, and there was a lot more openness to that. But today, every engineer just wants to code. They don't want to do any manual jobs like testing. They always like, I'm not interested. That means to say somewhere there's a mindset saying that this is a prevalent job, this is a non-prevalent job, this is what I want to do. And they also come with a lot of entitlement saying that because I've come from this kind of a college, this is what I should be doing. So instead of focusing on what, especially in the initial stages, if you are more invested in learning, that learning as, the urge is not there. It's mostly about this is what I want and this is what I am invested in and ready to invest on. So that is some of the biggest challenge that I see today from the past it was, right? And because of the pandemic and everything, I'm sure there is a lot of flexibility that is being given to all of us, including us, right? Which I think is really a blessing. But sometimes it might work other ways as well. Wherein the flexibility, we have said, saying that it's mostly invest in yourself, be commitment to what you're doing, commitment to your work. But now we realize saying that they want to spread it very thin without a commitment and ensure saying that I should be recognized even though my delivery is not 100%. So that has become a bigger challenge. Now, how do you drive that accountability? How do you drive that sense of ownership in the organization, especially with the younger generation? We know they're all digitally savvy, but what exactly are they doing on a digital savvy is a big question that is there out there. Yeah, thank you.
I know, Vijay, you have to leave at 4:30 and just on the break. Just one question for you. we look back, there are a lot of sponsors across, right, and they're sitting here. As an HR head, I know a lot of companies come to you and pitch to all of us, right? What is your word advice to all of them who are sitting across? Because when they come to you, you guys are the decision makers, right?
Yeah.
All of you, right, are the decision makers. What are the one or two things when you look at a product? Because if you say wellness, there are 50 other products. You see health, there are another 50 other products. What are the couple of things, or maybe a word of advice to all the entrepreneurs there?
I quite like this question because I work for a product company, and when I've started working with boards, there is something called a sales-led pitch and a product-led pitch, right? And the difference between India, which is such a services-led market, and the whole product landscape is so new to the Indian market. I think what most companies do when they pitch to me, and my company pitches to its customers, right, is you sell your product with a sales pitch. That doesn't work. A product-led pitch is when I, as your customer, sit with you, just like an employee sits with me at the table, and I give them HR spiel and nobody wants to listen to it. I, as an HR person who's selling a product to an employee, for example, needs to completely reflect on a what's in it for me. If I am able to sell to my candidate what's in it for them, and then a person who's selling a product to me is able to tell me what's in it for me when I buy their product, they've had one. But when you sell, and I'm sorry I'm being very blunt and brutal, but if you sell what you very passionately built like a baby, my answer would be it's your baby to look after, not mine. But if you tell me that having that baby will fill a certain emptiness in my life, then I might as well be willing to look after the baby for a little while. That's my spiel, and if you'll excuse me,
It is a round of applause for Vijayanti.
Thank you so much.
sorry, I'm so sorry.
No problem. Please come.
Thank you.
One more. Only 1 minute is there, and that also you will use.
I'm so sorry.
So Aditya, you have been moderating the panel, and it's time to ask you.
I have some questions. Hold on. In your experience, as a person who runs the business, right? What keeps you up at night? What is the thing which you are most worried about? When you get up in the morning, all of us have habits, right? I know 80% of you check emails and do send, receive, and refresh. What is on top of your mind? What keeps you? What's on top of your mind when it comes to your organization? Or talent or anything.
So I think when you wake up in the morning, I think if you are a true entrepreneur, you shouldn't think about your business, right? I think, especially in learning, if you are in learning, if you are validating, if you are consulting, if you are engaging, I think there should be some space where you take a break to add back to the businesses, the individuals, the people whom you work with. But I would tell you something that I foresee, and that would be my advice to businesses. The key is to add true value to your customer. I think the key is to ensure that you are ahead of where the world is heading. And if you are able to truly do that in terms of figuring it out, researching it out, doing it, and having a brain of your own. Like for example, I'll tell you about HR Space. HR Space is filled with consultants, it's filled with companies, it's filled with certifications. I think CHRMP thought that it wants to bring something to the world which is
not probably being brought by Western-led certifications, right? In fact, I was interacting and engaging, and I said, DI is a wonderful area, and why not India, which truly is a diverse place? Why don't we have a philosophy of our own? Why are we not bringing concepts of Karuna, Vasudev Kudambakam? Why are we not bringing Atiti Devo Bhava? Why are we not taking in terms of policies that probably can give an Indian perspective to the world? And when I say that, I think it's important for us to recognize that we have a lot of value to add, all of us. And if we truly structure it well and offer it to our consumers, I think yes, I'm sure that there would be people who would love it because it would make a real difference. So I think that is where I would probably.
You wanted to ask me something?
So I wanted to ask you, because I thought you have asked everyone a question there, and so I wanted to ask you. I think I heard that you have been interacting with students and colleges and etc. So I mean, I'm sure you have also seen the landscape change, right? What are some amazing adaptations that you have seen that has moved the needle forward? And probably another element that I want to ask is where do you see it heading? I think these are two important things.
Talking about the two parts. One is the college part, or are you talking about the fresher part, or are you talking about the talent part?
No, I'm talking about a story or maybe adaptability example from HR that everyone can take home from your experience in terms of from wherever that example comes from. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll break it down into two parts. I think so the world has evolved when it comes to HR and talent a lot. It has become a market where Gen Z has now predominantly dominating the market, let's be very honest. A lot of young entrepreneurs, I think so I was reading in, trying to remember Your Story in there's a website called Your Story or something, so it's about all innovators. Average age is about 26, 27. So the world has evolved. What has evolved also from a fact is people who are 40 plus have to work with people who are much more younger, or maybe reporting to or work together with founders who are much more younger. So world has evolved from a maturity angle perspective. Because the younger generation has the ability to have a lot of latest information, which when I was studying, when we were studying, we didn't have that much. You remember when you were passing out, engineer, doctor, army, remember, right? All of that was the thinking. But now information is available. Colleges have evolved a lot. I really love the concept of engineering colleges have 1 year internship. I think that's the best part of it, because I feel for a fact that a lot of colleges can't change their curriculum because they are aligned to a university, but autonomous colleges can, right? They have the ability, and with the adaptation of internship for a longer period of time, helping a lot of this talent, the early talent, to get experiential learning, right? What I wish is the faculty in these colleges also upgrade by themselves. They should try and look at, going to a corporate. Like supposing someone goes to a Navin and say, hey, for 1 month, maybe have one of my professors come and understand how development happens, right? How does it work? For them to get real-time information, because, the education system is great, but it's not upgraded, right? That's from a college perspective. Talent has evolved a lot. We are now living in a world where it's very cool to, not take a job, right? Not work, right? And take a break for some time. I'm the best example here. So, you can do that. 4-5 years back, it was frowned upon, right? And said, hey, why are you doing this? So, post-COVID, we've realized our thinking has evolved, right? Our self has become more important than the organizations, right? So, these things have evolved a lot. And the future, I feel, at least from a talent perspective, it will be more accepting perspective. HR, I see a change in a lot of functions coming together. I'll give you an example. Long term, I will see learning and development and recruiting coming together into one umbrella. Because at the end of the day, one person is external talent, one is internal talent. If they can join hands together, it will be a very different world altogether. So, some of them are my perspective.
Interesting, very interesting. Great. Go ahead. I just wanted to ensure that you have your fair ask of questions.
Okay, I'll be fair enough for the next panel. I know we are woefully behind time. Quick question to both of you. First, I'll start with her. Gen Z, as an HR leader, what's your perception? Because that's what everybody is dealing with.
Yeah, I think for me, Gen Z is the heart of the organization. At the same time, we also have to cater to the other generation that's there in the organization. It's a very paradoxical situation that we have in terms of how do we really accommodate and ensure we cater to the different generation, because the communication patterns are different for each generation. We also, the preferences of communication is different, the asks are different. Right, the Gen Z, I think we need to be a little handholding in the initial period, and once we kind of give the direction saying this is what you need to do, and I think they take off really well. At the same time, we as an organization or probably other generations should be willing to learn from them. So one of the things that we've done in the organization is introduce reverse mentoring, which has worked really well, where we have Gen Zs talking about different topics, not the regular work, but what is digital communication means, what is sustainability for them. They all believe in the minimalistic living because they all kind of want to go around and not take jobs like you're mentioning and be free. What does that really mean to them, right? When we get into all those conversations, we realize saying that they have a very different perspective of life itself. Like the way we are like very traditional, like you mentioned, like job oriented, we want to be committed to the family, but they're not like us. They are totally different, which means to say the flexibility plays a very important role for us to ensure we groom them, give that opportunity for them to have truly a work-life balance, right? They definitely want to take off. That means to say we might want to think about more sabbatical leaves in case if you want to retain a talented individual, especially from the Gen Z. There's a lot of innovation, importance of innovation, but the technical aspect of it, we need to provide the infrastructure that is required for them to invest the time and energy on the innovation bit of it. And for me, it's all about how do we enable the Gen Z is what is required today. Because they are hunger to have freedom, they really value that a lot. With that freedom, how do we channelize those energies in the right way is the biggest challenge that I see for ourselves.
Navin, last question. Data analytics. Companies use Power BI, Tableau, and tools, and all are data representation tools, and I'm sure you use it. How do we use this data to make informed decisions as a talent acquisition head of an organization, right? How do you just give one or two examples if you have in a short period?
So with respect to data, I think getting the data intent outcome is very important, because there are times when people just slice data, but we don't know what is the intent of objective of analyzing the data. So I think getting the intent is very right, and then ensuring that whatever formulas that you're getting is right. I think these two things are very key with respect to data, right? In terms of example, doing a analysis of offer declines, right? That's one of the areas where a lot of people suffer too. And then trying to understand the pattern, right? When slicing slice data in terms of where is the pool coming from? Example, if the candidates who are willing to relocate, are there more declines there? Gender-wise, are there more decline? People with higher notice period are having more decline. So that will help in basically trying to identify pattern, or people coming from certain kind of companies, right? From product companies, services companies, what kind of acceptance do they have of affine brands? So that's one example with respect to analyzing the data of people who are offer decline. So similarly, if you're looking at cost quality of hire, right? So again, we have done this during Accenture where there was metric in terms of where are they coming from, how long are they staying, what is the performance of those people that are joining. So we wish to do further analysis to figure out what would be our best bet in terms of what kind of talent do we need to attract. I think when we have sizable data, we cannot just look at a small data, right? It has to be looked at at a certain volume of say at least 1 year We cannot just look at 1 year, 1 month data, that could be cyclical. So have ample size of data before you reach to a conclusion, and then ensure that you're giving the right interpretation and kind of predicting what's going to happen in the future.
Thanks. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so I just want to probably connect both the points. I think Aditya brought two very important aspects. I think he brought in the idea of Gen Z and talent acquisition, because that's one of the biggest challenge anybody would vouch for that HR professionals really face. Now, some good data points that we have seen, especially with Gen Z, with the kind of projects that we have implemented, and this is very fascinating. We found that people who have quit more than 3 jobs in 2 years are more stable than people who have worked for 1 job for 2 years or 2 jobs for 1 year. And this is specifically for the age group that largely constitutes Gen Z. So technically, if you see, it breaks our understanding of who is stable and who is not, because people who have really quit more are more stable in a certain, it's probably because they have figured out what not to do and they know what to do. But that is what the data suggests. Another data point of making sure people turn up for interviews. It was 7 to 9 p.m. with Gen Z, which was the time where you could see the maximum number of people turning in and giving interviews. And this is very different from what otherwise you would see. So the question to ask is, and again, when we look at 75% of the workplace being millennials and Gen Z, and when we are looking at Gen Alpha around the corner another 8 or 10 years, right? Are we looking at changing our respective way of work, being the leaders in HR and driving what it takes? So I think I thought I'll bring this up together for everybody's view. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to all of you.
So what's your opinion of it?
No, I see Gen Z, I think so. If somebody is going to turn around and say you figured it, you not figured it, as simple as that. Laughing and telling Navin, I have a son who is 15. As we speak right now, he is karting. He wants to become a Formula 1 driver. He is karting. In my age, if I would have told my father, I'm sure all of us know the answer. So, my recommendation for Gen Z is let them be what they are, adapt and move forward. The world has evolved a lot. I think the threshold of post-COVID life has changed a lot for all of us. I'm so happy to see so many entrepreneurs, so many companies coming up. The sponsor, the spectrum on wellness and everything has changed a lot. There's a lot of acceptability. I think as a country, we are moving in the right direction. And I think so we just need to adapt and move forward. That's my perspective. So just want to thank my panel, because in the last minute I told them I will anchor the session and I'll not tell you what are the questions. So please, a round of applause to all of them. Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask one question?
Yes.
Yeah, wait.
So, to all the panelists, especially Kavitha, so we have been talking about Gen Z, how to deal with Gen Z, right? But when they become the leader, how are they dealing with the senior generation? And are they able to adapt? Because I have heard in certain positions, my friends are working with the leaders who are 26, 27 years old, and they are struggling to stay in the organization. So I would like to know your list.
So one of the things, of course, it's a long way to truly reach the leadership, but yes, I will keep it short. So truly reach the leadership role. But what we're doing is, we have this employee resource groups. We are ensuring that they lead it from the front, so that they start experiencing in terms of how do you lead it from the front. What does the stakeholder management means? What is the collaboration means? So we are giving that practical exposure to them. It might not be in a very big way, but I would say we have started to take a baby steps to groom them as a good leader. Thank you. Check.
Thank you. All yours.
Thank you so much. If I may call Ms. Raju, please. give these mementos out.